What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given, and happy Gwensday. We're going to start this one off with a roll the die, trying to pick up a Polywoggle, but unfortunately, we're going to grab a Bossy. So I'm going to lock onto the Polywoggle here. Polywoggle is just so much fun with Gwen, grabbing those over-leveled characters and trying to Knighthood them. So I'm still going to pick up the Polywoggle, even though we didn't get that die roll to land where we wanted to. And we could even try again. We've got another roll the die. So I'm going to buy and sell the goat and all Polywoggles, no crafties, and we get it. So that's nice to grab a 2/2 Polywoggle, and this just gives us some flexibility because now Polywoggle can slay without us having to use the Knighthood on it. I'm still going to lock onto this crafty, by the way, just because a pair of 3/3s seems good enough. And we are actually going to be able to get this Polywoggle slay. So that works out really, really nice. We get to tie this combat, but 40 health, Gwen, is pretty good. And then we also get to pick up a Cindy here, and I'm going to roll the die one more time. Why not? Just because we had the Cindy. I kind of wanted the crafty, but not enough to lock onto it going into 3.0. We do have the mummy, which does make us considerably stronger as well, and then a 3/6 and a 2/5. I think that we're doing pretty okay, and that kind of gets us into the main course of the video. We're actually going to be doing something on Gwen that I haven't done before. It's a brand new Knighthood target in this video that, as far as I can remember, I've never Knighthooded in a video before or otherwise, and kind of just a different strategy overall. On this turn, I'm just going to wind up picking up some mages, but next turn is where we will start to kind of deviate. I like the mages here because we already have Cindy, so I'm going to want to cast some spells, so they'll have some reasonable stats on them. But what is going to make this game so different is we're going to pick up a bunch of XP, and then from there, I'm going to use that XP to find an over-leveled character compared to the rest of the lobby and Knighthood that. So we'll see how that goes. I think that I've done some similar things, though definitely never this aggressive. Normally I feel like there's some amount of like, get strong, then purchase XP, then get stronger by Knighthooding something in the late game. But this one is really like, we're gonna take some damage here. We're gonna use our, basically all of our gold here on 3.1 to cast this Wish Upon a Star with no real intention of being able to win this combat. And then I roll and I find a Turkish Delight. And that's really what presents this interesting strategy to us. I think that it is definitely a little bit on the greedy side, but we get to pick up a Turkish Delight and a 3-cost character next turn. And then from there, we're gonna just wait it out till we get level 5 and then basically Knighthood whatever we find once we hit level 5. And we'll see where we can go from there and how all of that works out. We're playing up against the Fates towards the bottom of the lobby, though we're at the bottom of the lobby right now ourselves. These spells that we're casting here are getting us slightly closer to Cinderella and making our mages slightly bigger, though definitely not big enough to take on a Queen of Hearts. So we'll still be taking a little bit of damage, and I think we're probably going to take a little bit more damage again on the fight this turn. Let's see, I jumped ahead there for a second. And then next turn, we can potentially activate Cinderella, pick up some tier 4 characters. That might be nice. Really in the mood for a monster book. That'll be the best possible thing that we can find. And this fight actually doesn't go that bad. We only take 4 damage down to 21, which, you know what, for being 2 XP up now on the rest of the lobby, I'll take it. That seems pretty good. I think that we could also get away with picking up a Medusa here. That seems pretty good. And I'm going to Merlin's test right on that Medusa, just so that way it is killing any of the statues it attacks into. And Hermes Sandals, also kind of a fun combo with said Medusa, because it'll just get a free attack right off the start of the combat. So that's the idea. I'm also looking at this River Wish Mermaid because we could use the Medusa now to start slaying and then growing the Shadow Assassin, so that's definitely an option. And there's some other cool things in the shop as well. We've got a Chupacabra and a Feast and Dragon, but I don't think I want to lock on. Like I said, I think that it will be worth it to just next turn find a level 5 character and Knighthood that. Now, that said, all 3 of the 4-cost characters in that shop were pretty fun build-around characters and could have pushed us in a pretty strong direction, but I want to grab an over-leveled character like this Muerte is doing. They've got a, what is this called? Ashwood Elm? Not Ashwood Elm, Rotten Applewood from their Masquerade Ball, and that does me pretty dirty here. And then on this shop, we're on 5.0. I'm not going to Knighthood an INC Terror, that's for sure, but Aeon, when we already have some mages going on, this isn't something I would normally Knighthood, especially not without like a crystal ball or something, but I think that it's probably just worth it here. So I'm going to go for it. We're going to go for Knighthood on Aeon, and just, I mean, we've got the boots, right? So the boots is now with the Knighthood, we've got this attacking for 13 attack. That's decently likely to slay, and then we're going to get cheaper spells off of that. So I do think it all kind of comes together here in a nice way. We did lose the bonus stats on the Medusa. I should have thought of that. The fact that we weren't going to win the combat meant that we're basically just wasting the gold because it wasn't going to be able to keep that +4/+4 if we lost, but what can you do? We get the slay on the Aeon. We can see this Aeon much bigger than anything else my opponent has got going on, and I should bring up right now that we're at 11 health, so we need to start winning these combats, but this Aeon is plenty big. It's going to battle with a Queen of Hearts and allow our backline to clean my opponent up. So this is definitely good. We're definitely starting to turn this game around a little bit. I'll pick up a monster book. I'm going to backline my mages now so that way they can get bonus stats off the monster book, and I'm not going to try to do anything too crazy. I mean, I'm still going to look for crystal ball. I'll pick up the mummy, potentially try to find the crystal ball here because that would obviously be amazing. But even if we can just cast a cute little combat spell each turn like Shrivel, that's going to increase our chances of winning each individual combat. And hopefully we're just going to get stronger. We're going to scale a little bit as this game goes on, continue to cast some free spells. We're up 2 XP, which is also obviously really good in terms of allowing us to translate this into a victory. So nothing super crazy from here, but I did think that this was a pretty fun way to start off with Gwen. Obviously very risky taking as much damage as we did, but it's definitely working out. This Aeon is doing a great job slaying. Now we've got the monster book in the mix. Aeon's gonna grab like a 3-for-1 there. So altogether, I think pretty fantastic, and we're getting cheaper spells while we're doing it. I'd love to pick up another Spellweaver, triple those up, potentially find the crystal ball. I think that if we had maybe one more royal, I would consider a pair of court wizards there as well, though we still only are casting one spell each turn other than with the monster book, so it's not like the easiest thing to scale this board. I do think we could potentially take another Aeon here, but ultimately going to just wind up rolling and picking up that third Spellweaver. No crystal ball though, unfortunately for us, so I think I'll probably just go for the Sting, so that way we can keep slaying. None of these treasures are particularly exciting. I think that our Aeon probably already has enough attack as well, but Sting is a pretty good treasure, so I'll wind up picking that up here, and then just going for the Reckless Wager to end things off. I am keeping my Wizard's Familiar in the front line now, by the way. I could see moving that to the back just so that way it gets the Monster Book bonuses, but either way, Monster Book dies first, so not a huge deal. This one's gonna be tough, but we actually get the tie, so I'll take it. I would love to take that crystal ball as well, but unfortunately we do not get it. And here's where now I'm going to be a little bit silly. We've got an upgraded level 5 character, so let's make that an upgraded level 6 character. I think that it gave us enough strength in the game to get to this point, to stay alive with 11 health going into 6.0. So I True Love's Kiss it and grab an Oni Tyrant for a little bit of a better sense of direction here, I think. Because you can't really just play mages for the entire game without a crystal ball. I mean, maybe with some treasures you could make that work, but I think Oni Tyrant is a much better build around, or basically any level 6 character is a much better build around. I will say that Oni Tyrant is one of the least likely level 6 characters to win the game, but I still think that this was worth a shot here to try out, and I'm going to wind up throwing in a few more monsters. It's kind of a puzzle trying to figure out how to make some Oni Tyrant builds work. But Monster Book, also a monster as it implies in the name, so that's going to get some bonus stats when that attacks as well. And hopefully that's enough to, well, at the very least not die, but actually Oni Tyrant is just, I mean, it's plus 26 when things attack, and then along with the Friendly Spirit, that winds up being plus 52 because it gets plus 26 itself, and then also gives that buff to something else. Scion of the Storm, I think we're past at this point. If Oni Tyrant turned into Scion of the Storm, then we'd be in an interesting spot, probably picking up monster books and copycats or something like that. But kind of fun to just kind of play what you're given. And then I'm going to wind up Dreaming. Sharon could be good, put some bonus stats on the Friendly Spirit. Rumpelstiltskin, also kind of cool once you're already level 6. But Mordred is also a really good endgame character and is just going to help us throw a little bit more stats onto this board because we have more characters than we can even play right now. I'm hanging on to an extra Medusa and an extra Mummy, and next turn I'm going to pick up another Oni Tyrant. That's basically all that I'm rolling for at this point in the game is Oni Tyrants, maybe Friendly Spirits as well, to be able to, that's like the best monster to give those bonus stats to because it does get to pass those on to something else. But Mordred is actually pretty good here, and I do think Dreaming into Mordred in the late game is generally pretty strong because then you get to play 8 characters on the board. So we'll pick up another Oni Tyrant now, and then again, just kind of rolling for more Oni Tyrants, and I'm going to find them. I do want to figure out exactly what board I'm working with here, and I think it's time to say sayonara to our mages. So I'm going to sell those off and pick up one last Oni Tyrant. Let me know, though, for any of these turns, I mean, these are like very tricky puzzles, what you would play. I don't really play too much in the way of monsters, so definitely not super familiar with this, and definitely not Mordred monsters, right? But I think that this is the best board for this turn. Basically, I'm putting Friendly Spirit and Mummy in the first 2 attacking slots because those are the ones that care the most about getting the bonus stats from the Oni Tyrant, and then I'm also summoning in an additional Mummy to potentially take further advantage. And then in slots 3 and 4, I just put Monster Books, which those slots are more likely to get attacked into, and the Monster Books also don't really need the bonus stats as much. Though, I mean, when they get the bonus stats, it's certainly nice, and we're able to do some nice things this turn. We hit the Muerte for a nice little chunk of 10 damage there, and then we find another Friendly Spirit, but we also find an Echo Wood, which I think is something that you want to play in this comp. We're a little bit constricted for space. Luckily, we do have Mordred. That's giving us a little bit more dread space to summon some characters here, but I think that I want to play another Friendly Spirit. I don't know if I want that Friendly Spirit in the Mordred slot, if I want an Oni Tyrant in the Mordred slot. A lot of different ways that you could play it and configure this board. And we find another Echo Wood. I think that one's going to be too much, so I am going to roll past that and then fire off a Feed the Kraken on these mummies. We're no longer looking for Crystal Ball, so I no longer think we have to play these mummies. And then here's the question, like, should I be keeping the Oni Tyrant in my hand so that way I don't just have to frontline it and have it be a little bit susceptible to getting attacked into or something? I'm really not sure, but I wind up keeping that in my hand so that way it gets summoned in after my opponent attacks. That actually protects it from my opponent's Medusa, which is pretty nice here as well. And then we get to make some nice attacks with our backline Oni Tyrants and hit another opponent for 10 here. Now we're on to the top 4, but we still got a little bit of game to go, and I will say the longer this game goes on, the less I like my chances, because the monster comp is a comp that doesn't really scale as well as the other comps in the game too, and we do we do get to pick up a nice little treasure here, Coin of Sharon. I mentioned that's pretty good with Friendly Spirit. I actually thought about not even picking it up though, so that way I could just grab Hercules. The thing is, Coin of Sharon is a little bit late in the game. There's only going to be, what, 2 more turns, maybe 3, so we're not going to get that many stats, but it is still probably worth it on the Friendly Spirit, just because that character makes such great use of stats. but definitely a little bit awkward. And then I'm going to wind up throwing the mummy into my Mordred slot. At some point I tossed my Medusa. I don't really know when I did that, but I did wind up tossing that Medusa at some point. We Pigomorph on my opponent's Good Boy. They've got kind of a crazy comp here going on. The Good Boy just to pump up their backline trees. But either way, our monsters are going to be able to battle with the trees comp, which is nice. We don't get the kill onto Goldilocks, but being able to battle with a trees comp I think is always sweet. It would have been nice if we could take out the Goldilocks, then we would have been in at least second place here, and like I said, the longer this game goes on, the Goldilocks is going to figure out that comp eventually, whereas we can't really make our board that much better. It's too late in the game at this point to try to do anything with Bearstain and Mordred, so we're just left rolling for Oni Tyrants, and at this point we're probably out of time and out of Tyrants. So we'll see how we do up against the Celestial Tiger on the last fight. Again, let me know how you would play this board. Would you keep the Oni Tyrant in your hand? Would you field the Mummy? Where would you put that Oni Tyrant? Where would you put the Echo Wood? Would you have held on to the Medusa? Probably. Probably wanted to hang on to that one. But either way, yeah, let me know. And then our opponent here really doesn't have a great comp, though they do get a pretty nice hit there with their Doom Breath, taking out my upgraded Oni Tyrant. That's going to take out a lot of my stats. My opponent really just on a Excalibur comp there with Celestial Tiger, but sadly it is enough. I still thought this was a really fun one, both in just different terms of how we approached Gwen this game, buying the XP and then just knighthooding the first thing that we found on level 5, and then just have to play to what you're given. And we were given an Oni Tyrant. I think we put together a pretty decent monster comp. Kind of feels like a second place game because we did just beat the third place player a turn ago. We just didn't have enough time to grab the victory there. I guess in another universe, Celestial Tiger takes out the Goldilocks this turn, and then we fight the Ghost, and then we have one more turn to get a little bit stronger for that Celestial Tiger fight. But for today, that's going to be it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lex Given. Peace.